I'd like to call to order the Avalon City Council meeting, including a meeting of the City Council acting as the Housing Authority on Tuesday, April 3rd. If you'd please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll be seated. We'll forego the invocation today. And if we may please have the roll call.
Councilmember Cassidy? Here. Councilmember Hernandez?
Here.
Councilmember Sampson?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Olson?
Here.
Mayor Marshall?
Here. And are there any announcements or written communications?
Just that today was the last day to apply for a vote by mail ballot. And it was also supposed to be the last day for vehicle registration without a $25 late fee, but we had conflicting dates on our flyers. It said Friday, April 3rd, so I guess we'll be extending that to this Friday before we start giving the $25 late fee.
Okay, thank you. And City Manager report.
I have none.
Okay. City Attorney?
Nothing tonight.
Okay. Department head reports.
Oh, I'm sorry. I would like to have our brand new interim finance director. We're very glad to have him on board. This is Bob Torres. That seems to be the name for the finance department, Bob. And we're very pleased to have him. He's been thrown into the deep end of the pool without a life jacket.
Well, thank you very much, Denise and Mayor and City Council. I'm really happy to be here.
Great.
And over the years, I've come to visit Catalina Island, and I always thought it'd be kind of fun to work here for a while, and here I am. So thank you for the opportunity, and I'm here to serve you. If I can answer any questions now or later, please contact me.
Bob comes from Long Beach, and he has a lot of finance in cities, so a lot of experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're very pleased to have him.
Yeah. Thank you and welcome aboard.
Welcome.
And I know you have your own life jacket. Okay, department head reports.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. The Harbor Department, we're moving right along with our summertime preparedness with floats and repairs and everything going. So we've had a few boats coming in this week. They're talking about rain on Saturday, so I'm not really thinking we're going to have a big weekend. But it is spring break, and Catalina Express is jam-packed, so there's a lot of people running around town. So we're pretty good. So thank you for asking.
Great, thank you for telling.
Mayor, Council, City staff, good evening. Just very quickly, we were able to participate in the tsunami drill that I talked about last time I was up here. And we did a drill. We were able to get all of our rolling apparatus to high ground in 10 minutes. So we were curious what that number would look like, and it took us 10 minutes with minimal staffing to get what we could out of the station. This week, along with the Avalon Harbor Department, we did a training with a gentleman by the name of Dr. Katzer. He's one of the ER physicians that rotates through here. And in addition to being an ER physician, he's the medical director for the Anaheim Fire Department. He volunteers with the San Bernardino Search and Rescue Air Squad. And he was able to review some stuff with us on envenomation with the springtime and snakes and things that bite and sting. Some precautions with a drug called fentanyl, and some bone injury review stuff. This next item, I just want to kind of get ahead of it, just in case it makes it on your radar. There was some social media information that went around on April 1st about hawks being used in place of drones, where they would attach a camera to hawks and falcons and it'd be used in public safety in place of a drone. That's an April Fool's joke. So there is no intention to use hawks in place of drones for public safety. It didn't start with us, and it didn't get on any of our social media, but just so you're aware of it. And just real quickly, Bob Mescher's not here tonight. I just want to extend a thank you to him. He was very helpful to me in his time here and his service to the city. So if Bob sees this at some point, thank you very much, Bob.
Oh, that was nice.
Thank
Thank you.
Okay, we'll make this short. Denise and I met this past week with members of Herlinda Chico and other members of Supervisor Hahn's staff, and with members of the LA County Library staff and the Island Company staff regarding a project that the library has received funding for to renovate the interior of the library and create an outdoor reading and activity area in the courtyard between the library and the sheriff's station. The project will renovate the interior restroom to meet ADA standards and greatly improve the usability and versatility of the interior space to accommodate all the different library programs. Closure for the library will be approximately 10 months. The library staff and Supervisor Hahn's staff are diligently working to find an interim library location during the closure. Trailhead project, you may have heard that it had a minor setback this past week. A single structural support shifted on the foundation, on the footing. The job was immediately stopped. City Fire responded to ensure that the perimeter was secure. Jordahl Construction and Connolly Pacific responded to provide temporary shoring until a permanent fix could be implemented. The engineered plans for the repair have already been sent for expedited plan check. The engineer has cleared the building for continued work until the permanent correction can be accomplished. Leveling and installation of the new support column is scheduled for the end of next week. Vaughn's project, you may have noticed a lot of steel showing up on the Vaughn site. Erection of the steel framing should be commencing in the next few days. All the work in and on Catalina Street was to facilitate bringing in the electrical service underground. Saw cutting of Beacon is scheduled for next week to finish the installation of the electrical service. Zane Gray project is proceeding satisfactorily. Wood framing at the north building, which is the brand new building, is at about 85%. Shoring for the west building is underway at 80%, and the interior demolition at the south building is at about 80%. The Atwater renovation is also proceeding satisfactorily. The third floor wood framing is about 85%. The HVAC, electrical, and plumbing are about 50%, and demolition at the second floor is about 50%, and the restaurant demolition is underway. The LCP amendment RFP went out. We've had communication from about 5 firms expressing interest. Deadline for the submittal of the proposals is April 16th. We have also been in communication with the State Lands Commission, which also has a state statutory requirement for assessing sea level rise and coastal flooding on state land leased areas. We believe that the task for the LCP will substantially satisfy the State Land Commission requirements as well. That's all I have.
I have a question on the Trailhead project. So do they have, how do they work it so that inspections are done? I mean, do we send our guy out, either Steve or Bob, to look at progress and how levels are going, or is that something that's discovered in-house? How does
Well, Steve
supervision
is
work?
providing ongoing inspections, but some of these projects also have special inspectors that come over that are strictly to inspect, say, the structural steel or foundations. And so those special inspectors come in and provide their credentials to us so that we know that they are on site and providing whatever their criteria is to inspect, and then we get copies of those inspection reports.
Okay, thank you.
Amanda,
Yes, sir.
may I ask you a question? I heard you say that was a minor setback, that down at
Well,
the trailhead? Is that really
it's-
minor?
I'm calling it minor because I don't want people to panic about it. It was significant in that it does require some heavy-duty corrections. It was a main support beam, but I had people calling me worried that the building was going to fall, and that was not that didn't appear to be a risk. The engineer, they were on site immediately. They had the shoring in there, and the engineer has signed off on the building as being secure for them to go back into work until they get the permanent fix in there. It was scary to look at. It was this giant beam, and it was sitting slightly off center of the post that it was supposed to be
Right.
sitting on. So it was definitely something that they had to take quick actions to
Okay, so the engineer that does the inspections and okayed it for men to be working in there and the public to be safe anywhere around the building?
Yes, he looked at the temporary shoring that they put in there to replace the work that this structural beam was doing, and he's allowed them to go back in and do some work continue work in the back half of the building, and I believe he made the finding that it was safe to be around the building, that they didn't need to have Crescent Avenue blocked off.
Is there any way that we can oversee these inspectors that come over to make sure that, because after looking at it and seeing what exactly happened and looking at all the concrete on top of that corner post, it seems to me that could have been a major catastrophe. It could have been turned out really poor and a bad thing for a lot of people, especially the City of Avalon, the Conservancy, anybody who's happened to be a passerby if the building would have failed. That was one of the main support beams on the front of the building where it's taking the heaviest load. I'm no engineer, and I am not an inspector, but when you look at the photographs, it looks like the concrete on which that contained all the rebar on which that beam was bolted into, that the concrete somehow failed. And so, and I'm not an inspector. Yeah.
That's just what it looks like to me from a layperson. So I agree with you. It could have been really
could have been
bad.
a lot worse, but somebody failed to do their job. It was an oversight, and I want to make sure that maybe if we could just somehow vet the concerns of the community through just more inspections, because that could have been a catastrophe. I'm not saying it was your oversight, because you do a fantastic job at reporting these things and vetting the concerns of the public and issuing the different permits that we need and doing the paperwork that we need you to do. But the oversight on this project that happened, I just can't see it as a minor glitch or anything even close to that. It's something that was more close to a catastrophe. So I want to make sure that in the future, I mean, with all the engineers and the consultants and the experts there, we've got to have somebody that can oversee these projects. Who do we have for the who do we have for the city that could oversee that this doesn't happen again and nothing like it will happen again?
That would be our code enforcement, and if they can't do it, we could always retain the services of a city engineer.
Well, I'm sorry, I would not give that responsibility to code enforcement.
Well, no. I'm saying is responsibility of complying with the building code is code enforcement in terms of issuing actions, issuing citations. The responsibility of doing the actual inspections, I think the county's doing that with an engineer. If the city wanted its own engineer, you would have to hire a city engineer to do that work. And that would be under the code enforcement department.
And I think that at some point they may determine through their assessment exactly what occurred, what failed. Was it the bolts holding the beam? Was it the concrete? Was it the rebar? And my impression is that it was built according to the engineered plans, but it's possible there might have been a material failure and not necessarily a process.
Somebody's oversight, I'll tell you that, and we can't risk this ever again. One of our responsibilities as the city council is to oversee the safety for the community. And
we're very grateful to Jordahl and Connolly. They jumped right in. They came in and put that temporary shoring in there because we were concerned that we would have to keep a really huge perimeter blocked off, which would affect our downtown area, the park, in order to make sure that the building didn't move. And
would
they
the
were
future
very helpful.
Would the future plans of that building be changed at all? I mean, did the building settle anything other than that one beam in that corner? Did anything else settle down to where they won't be able to utilize the building as it was designed for? Do you have any idea?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay.
But it was only that one post and that one footing.
Okay. I really
But we
hope
may
so.
have more information once they finish their assessments, and as I get more information, I'm happy to share that with you.
Yeah, I know you would, and I really appreciate that, Amanda. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that.
I think, Scott, you misspoke. The inspector, the engineer that Amanda's referring to would be hired by the Conservancy, correct? Well, they're not independent because who selected them? Conservancy selected them. Okay, the city actually had city engineers at one time. Remember, Chick was a city engineer.
Keith.
Pete, yeah. So, I mean, the city certainly has it within its power to hire a city engineer and to build a conservancy to have another layer, because Joe's right. I mean, Amanda's not an engineer, neither or code enforcement. Nobody has the wherewithal to get together with the conservancy's engineer and make sure that everything, all the systems have been reviewed so that as they proceed, there are not going to be further problems.
Right, and again, I don't think I said that the city could hire an engineer to provide additional oversight. We just don't have one right now.
I thought Bob Greenwald was a structural engineer.
He's an engineer, I'm not sure which kind.
Well, he's an engineer.
I thought he was, well,
Hey, he's a pretty sensible man. Anyway, we got to oversee
And
these
Bob
things.
was down there at
He's-
the time.
Okay, at the time, really?
And Bob was down there. And I think it might help to clarify that when you have a project like this come through the process, they submit plans that are stamped by an engineer, and they provide the structural calculations and all of those details. Then we send them off to a separate engineering company, and they review those plans and those structural calculations to ensure that they are correct. Then the city's building inspector's job is to make sure that they're building it according to the plans. But some aspects of the project, you bring on another layer of inspector who specializes in that aspect of the project, and then they provide this other layer of inspection, and they are hired by the contractor to do these special inspections.
Wow, somebody sure had a major oversight there.
Well, it sounds like they caught it there are problems. It sounds like they caught it soon. It wasn't like it sat there messed up for weeks and weeks and...
They felt it. It was a major problem.
Yeah.
And it just could have been a lot worse. I thank God that there was a legion of angels watching over those people, and the people down at the car lot, and the people at the restaurant, and the people over at the hat store. I'll tell you what, we got lucky. We all skated one right there. And let's hope that the rest of the project goes a little bit smoother than that, and everybody does their job the way they're supposed to. That's good. Thank you very much, Amanda. You're very helpful.
Other department heads? Where's Dave Hunky? Dan Hunky?
Oh, my God.
Dan Hunky, are you in the building? Okay, never mind. Should I hold off on this, or I should say that?
Oh, yeah. You must have gotten held up.
Oh, okay. Well, we just went, the County of Los Angeles, this is to the Community Services Department, City of Avalon Spring Fest 2018, with sincere congratulations and best wishes. The Board of Supervisors of the County of Los Angeles does hereby join in your celebration. March 29th, 2018, signed Janice Hahn, Supervisor, 4th District. So that was sweet. And I believe Erlinda Chico was here for that, so that was great. Okay. Council member reports. Who would like to begin?
I'll go. I just have a couple. Tomorrow night I'll be attending the Gateway Cities Council of Government meeting. I'm wondering if, I don't even know who to ask it at the staff level, Denise, whether or not the city has ever looked into working with the Long Beach Health Department versus LA County in the past.
I think we
Yes, we have in the past, and I can't remember how long ago, Cindy, that was. I wasn't intimately involved in that, but if it's something you would like us to revisit, we could certainly look into it and come back with the pros and cons.
I know
Okay.
Ole had mentioned that quite a while ago.
Well, I know that the health department, LA County, was in town today, and it was excruciatingly painful for many people. And I was actually in a location that was shut down today for I'm not an inspector, but what seemed kind of ridiculous when every other restaurant in town is doing the same type of thing. And I just am hearing all the complaints, and I heard many of them today because a lot happened today with the health department. And I just wanted to help however I could to get some consistency so that you know what's expected versus it being, well, today they're going to hit me for this and next month they're going to say that's no big deal, that kind of thing. I don't know what we can do at our level, but if we can get involved to help create some consistency in town, I'd love to do that. And somebody had mentioned to me today, is there any way we can try to work with Long Beach rather than LA County? So,
Okay, we'll look into it.
and then equally kind of a bummer is all of the trash in town, especially trash in late night locations. That food trash and cigarette packages. I notice it every single day at the library area and all around the sheriff's department. And that is a park that LA County created for our community. That is a locals park for our local participants in our community to use. And it's really disheartening that, people are having their late night dinners or whatnot in the park there, and literally trash cans all over the place, and they just can't seem to get their trash in the trash can. There is a cigarette receptacle right there, and all around the cigarette receptacle is cigarette butts on the ground. And I've seen for well over a year, and I want to say at least 5 out of 7 days a week, an Island Company employee picking up all the trash around that area, and that's not fair. That's a community park. So I also know that there's, we as council get the emails from, we have a handful of residents that walk the town every day, and they'll send us emails of trash that's dumped on the side of the roads, on Wrigley Terrace Road, on other people's property, and I just want to put out there that please do your part. If you need a large item pickup, call and have CR&R do your large item pickup. If you're having a late night snack, toss your garbage away. If you're out there smoking, find a receptacle to put your cigarette butt in, please, because that takes away from the niceness of the town for the rest of us. So I will end on a positive note, and I'm sad that Director Bob isn't here tonight, but I had just wanted to say my own heartfelt best wishes for Bob Mesher and his family as they move to their next adventure. Bob was an incredible finance director. That's one of my favorite parts of council is finance. And I really appreciated working with Bob. And I just wish them the best. And with that, we'll welcome new Bob to the seat. So,
Cindy, I'd like to comment on the trash and the pickup around the new area of the library. Is that was addressed at our meeting last Friday, and the county, there was quite a few of the county people there, that was brought to their attention that was never addressed of who actually was going to be the person or who was going to facilitate the daily cleanup, the trash pickup, having enough bicycle racks, all of that. So that's coming back with some suggestions, and I will reach back out to the county to what are they doing in the interim.
And I'm glad you mentioned that. That was the other part that I had forgotten. It wasn't in my notes here, is the bicycle racks. And it does not matter. The city code enforcement guys can empty out the bike rack in that park area, and within a week, it's jammed packed again. And the same with the bike rack that's next to the Vaughn's Express building. It really comes down to personal liability, and at some point somebody needs to say it. We all need to pick up. We all need to pick up after ourselves, and it's really not okay to just leave, a half stripped down bike in a bike rack because you don't want to dispose of it. So I'm just here to say, it just takes away from all of us. So if you see some trash, pick it up. If you have trash, put it in a receptacle, please, so that we can have this nice, clean town that we'd like to have for our visitors and for us to enjoy. And thank you for adding that to your meeting, Denise. I appreciate that.
I think the birds take a lot of the trash out of the trash cans too. As a matter of fact, I've seen them, the ravens down there, so it's just the way it goes. I mean, if we get the vermin protected trash cans or bird protecting trash cans with the lids on them, that would help out a lot. I know that. I pick up trash down there too, so I know what you're talking about. Understood.
Is that your lead in, Joe?
No, I've already said my piece. I wanted to mention the Trailhead project, and I don't think we're in the clear yet down there, and we got a lot of local guys working on that now, trying to get it back in where it's supposed to be, and that really disturbs me that somebody didn't do their job. Somebody at a very high level didn't do their job, and people could have gotten hurt there. We're working real hard to keep the community safe. Terrorism, active shooter, engagement to all of our employees, everybody on the island, every security officer that patrols the island understands that we work real hard. It's one of our responsibilities as council people to keep people safe. And when I see things like the photograph of that beam, and I see the guys who are fixing it, and I understand the magnitude of what could have happened there, I want to make sure that there's never, ever a failure like this again at this level. There's things that we can make contingency for, but things like active shooters, crazy people, terrorism, it's like hard to understand what's in the mind of a sick person. So you do the best you can with that, and like everybody's on high alert. And but when somebody just fails to do their job at such a high level, I want to find out who did that. Make sure they don't do it again over here, at least, or make sure we find out what the oversight was. I can see what the failure is. The bolt's bent because someone didn't fill in the cement between the plate and the actual cement block. I've kind of been walked through it by an engineer myself, just looking at the structure failure. But it's not something that I don't understand the mathematics to it, and it is mathematics. And somebody should have done a better job. So anyway, that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Okay.
Then I'll be good.
Okay. Mayor Protem.
I agree with what Cindy said about being responsible for your trash and picking up, because we all live here and it's, does trash the place a little bit. Couple things. Next Thursday and Friday, I'm going to be in Pomona at the beautiful League of California Cities Policy Committees. We're on the Revenue and Taxation Committee and Community Services. I'll be back on Saturday. I was walking downtown out towards the Casino Point, and there appears to be some cars that are permanently parked on Casino Way between the Yacht Club and the Tuna Club. Could we maybe think about making that no overnight parking or something? Because that is kind of a view corridor, and I'm not sure that we need to turn it into a parking lot.
I think we can look at that, but we should still be looking at all the transportation stuff that we've been talking about doing.
True, but we don't seem to get back to that, and I think some of the stuff could be piecemealed.
A lot of that parking has already been taken away. There was about 4 parking spots that were taken away from the Tuna Club down to the middle dinghy dock. So I have to park out there sometimes because I live on Marilla. A lot of people from Marilla park down there during the daytime because there's no parking on Marilla.
I'm not saying daytime, I'm saying limit it to no overnight parking. Daytime parking.
No overnight parking there? I don't understand why. Why would you do that? It's just taking away parking from every. I agree with Annie. We need to look at vehicles, traffic, and the whole package. Just piecemealing, it's not going to work. I mean, it's understood right now that we've got a serious problem with transportation. Too much, not enough public transportation. We're having issues with our own public transportation. A lot of way too many vehicles. I mean, we all know that. It's really hard to do anything about it because people start screaming when you talk about taking away their vehicles. But I just see all vehicles that they keep getting bigger. There's more of them. There's more commercial vehicles. There's less places to park, and we keep taking away parking. We're going to be making a lot of money coming up in the future because there'll be nowhere to park. I mean, I don't understand where you're going with that.
Well, and I know Denise is aware that this is something we want to get back into, and maybe because different parts of the community have different issues. Like if you're Marill and Whitley, your issues are different than Descanso, so maybe we could almost look at some of the things by section, start at one end of town to the other, or from top to bottom, or whatever as well, as we move forward.
My concern is we haven't done anything on this in the last 6 years. We had a couple meetings. We haven't had a meeting in the last year that I'm aware of. And I think some of the stuff is fairly simple. It's really low-hanging fruit. Do you need overnight parking between the yacht club and the tuna club? I don't think you do. Do you need, we go out of our way to make the use of cars convenient in this town. I think we should be making it inconvenient because, as you said, there's too many cars driving around. There's too many cars driving around too fast. And if it's harder to park permanently, maybe it'll cut down some of the traffic.
Well, then perhaps we could all come up with our own little list of low-hanging fruit. Give her a week or two, give her a list of, because we've all talked about some low-hanging fruit. Like you always say, if you have off-street parking, use your off-street parking. So maybe there is some low-hanging fruit we want to deal with. I don't know, I'm looking for comments from the council.
That's a great idea.
Okay.
I'll participate in that.
So maybe 2 weeks we'll give you low-hanging fruit. Okay, and then we'll see if we agree on what fruit we're picking. Okay, all right.
And one other thing, I know the Pebble Beach Road is posted as 20 miles an hour, but the last couple of days I've been having lunch in Lover's Cove, and I guess 75% of the cars are doing 30, 35 through Lovers. And can we get some sort of enforcement?
Sure.
I don't know how, but...
Well, they should be there on their segues, or either visibility so that people will automatically slow down, or be a little more stealth.
Yeah.
And be in that segue with their siren or whatever they've got. I don't know.
Can their segue catch them, though?
Well, I don't know. Anyway.
Thank you.
So let's see, your direction was basically the list of vehicles, basically low-hanging fruit that is problems that we may see or our constituents may see that refer to vehicles, parking, traffic, public transportation, pedestrian transportation.
Safety.
Okay, safety, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Good one, Wally.
Annie, just for clarification, you're just coming back with a list. You don't expect me to have this on the agenda on April 17th, correct?
No, we're giving you the fruit.
Because there isn't?
Yeah.
You know what the 17th is?
I know. Okay. For clarification, I talked to Denise. There was a little concern on the bee and yellow jacket contract, but just to say that when it comes to bees, it's controlling bees. So they're not the killing of the bees. So if you happen to have a swarm in your home, you can call them and they will remove the bees and take care of them. So it's not an annihilation of the bees. So I attended the sunrise service on Sunday when staff was inspirational. It was wonderful. I was also on vacation, and while I was on vacation, the day I got into Hawaii, I guess there was some Catalina Transparent had sent out a 4-page document to the residents of Avalon. I don't know if everybody got one, but my husband got one. I just wanted to say that I appreciate the work of Dave Young, the new editor of the Catalina Islander. I reached out to him to tell him that I really had nothing to do with this document. And I also want to thank Mike Sheehan. When he was interviewed by Dave Young, he said, yes, this document was not run by either of the candidates. So I Just wanted to let you know, it's kind of like that last campaign, stuff comes out of the woodwork, we have nothing to do with it, Mr. Harrell, okay? All right, and the styrofoam. So we did the styrofoam ban, and I've noticed there are people that are now not doing styrofoam, but I'm curious how we check to see if everybody's in compliance. I don't know if that's a plan.
Is Dan here yet? Dan was following up with some of the restaurants. The administrative office never received one appeal asking for an extension of that time.
Okay.
So as far as I'm concerned, everybody should have switched over.
Okay.
I will check with Dan, and we will put a memo in your box.
Yeah, just a little update. Okay. And where are we on that VRBO study?
Well, Annie, maybe with our new interim finance director and with Amanda Cook and myself, we could pick that back up. And we put it on the back burner because of other issues, but we will pick that up, Annie.
No, I know.
And they have pinged me and Bob Mesher several times in emails like, we need to.
Recently one came up, and this person was not only a VRBO, but also collecting the 12% and keeping it in their pocket. Mm-hmm. That is, and I guess what are the ramifications? And then there's another one that, you just kind of there's one now, I see a sign right on Clarissa that says, call Gina or Robert or something, so we're missing out and they're messing up. And so anyway, and I will be going to the Southern California Association of Governments meetings on Thursday. Okay, that's it. And we have presentation, Southern California Edison. I think we have Luke back.
Could I back up just a minute? Because I think Bob Greenlaw came in.
Oh,
and
Bob.
I know he has a couple things we already did the department head updates, so I wanted him to be able to.
Sorry I'm late.
No problem.
Okay, so Step Beach storm damage repair is completed. We still have the rope and some posts to get done. Those were there before the storm, but we'll get those done. So there's a thin layer of sand spread out just for aesthetics. There really is not much to lay on at this point. But that was just to have something available here for the spring break. And by the end of April, we should have all of our sand back on our beaches. We'll replenish all that sand. And the mole phase 1, the scope is to repair the wharf structure. The initial study mitigated deck is in its 30-day review period, so that's the environmental document for that project. And it's at the front desk for anybody that's interested. We can check them out, a copy or a CD with the information on it. And it's also on our website, so any of those methods. So take a look at that if you're interested in that project.
Thank you. Southern California Edison.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Luke Shaner, Southern California Edison. It's an honor to be here to present an update on the DWR Desalination Grant Program. There we go. So here are.
I don't think
see
we
the
have
timeline in front of you?
access.
Okay. I'll speak through what's changed on the timeline since I last presented. It's significant. On March 30th was the opening window for them to receive resubmitted applications, and we were successful in resubmitting all of the projects on that date. The first one went in the morning, and then in the early afternoon, the second. And we'll show you the summary of those projects in the subsequent slide. But that, in addition to that, the one of the projects had not yet been submitted through the Integrated Regional Water Management Committee, local IRWIMP, and we submitted that project this morning. And so we'll be on hopefully the April agenda to present that to the local committee and get that received and accepted by the local plan, which also further helps the grant application process. There we go. So here's the application summary. Main changes since last update, we finalized the application, and as you can see on the forward-looking projects, both for saltwater well desal facility upgrades and distribution and storage enhancements, we grouped those into one application, and that came as a result of conversations and coordination with the Department of Water Resources and input we received during our pre-submittal meeting review. This helped, instead of spread out the benefit into two projects, we were able to combine them and make them stand on their feet a little bit better combined. In doing that, you see how the estimated cost aligns with the funding request. The total project cost for both desal Plant 2 and the forward-looking projects are $16.32 million. Requested funding amount based on maximizing the opportunity through the Department of Water Resources totals $13.61 million. And that's in contrast to back in September 1st, 2017, the same project total for those projects was $23.9 million, and as a result of the engineering that we were able to perform, infrastructure that's in place that we were able to validate and leverage, we were able to remove costs and contingencies while still maintaining the benefit. So that speaks to it on a whole level. That's the summary on the application summary, or on the application.
A little shorter than last time.
What's that? Yeah. Thankfully. Next steps, like I mentioned, we got the projects into the local Integrated Regional Water Management Committee, and pending their formal identification on their agenda, we'll present locally to them and expect to receive the same support we did on desal Plant 2 on the other two projects. Through their committee, they've asked that we keep three projects separate based on location and with an independent project area, whereas on the DWR, we've combined two of them into one. So that's why I talk about two projects on DWR and three with IRWM. And one of these immediate next steps, which we will be identifying resources and specific strategic talking points internally, is to lobby DWR to award both Catalina desal projects, and we'll ask, council and staff to do the same to the extent they can. And when we create that list of talking points, we'll share that with city staff so that can be provided and assist efforts.
I just have a question. When you talk about support, I mean, is it helpful to get like letters from the Chamber of Commerce? And because I don't know if they've participated in the past.
Yes, so back in August, when there's a little more time between the submittal, we received letters from Chamber, Conservancy, elected officials, and we've included that same exhibit with the exception that we updated the one from the city and also from Conservancy. So we included those updated versions, but still maintain the original. And we are still tentatively identifying the end of June as if they will recommend any projects for award, that's going to be the time. So as soon as new information comes in, we will come back to report that. And in regards to the IRWM meeting as well. Lastly, there's still road to travel here, but we do want to express some thanks for helping folks, resources get the applications to where they are today. We have more information for DWR to review and include as basis as they consider the projects for award. So wanted to thank Representative Alan Lowenthal, Senators Ben Allen, Ricardo Lara, Assemblymember Patrick O'Donnell, Supervisor Janice Hahn. We are utilizing their same support letters they provided us last summer that spoke to the projects and what we were looking to accomplish with them. Second, City of Avalon, Mayor, Council members, and City staff, particularly Denise Ratty, Bob Greenlaw, and Jordan Monroe for making time and resources available in a short window with a tight deadline. I believe the manner in which the water data is provided, by different stakeholders or by Edison, but then cataloged and available on the city's website, further demonstrates the active and coordinated outreach and response, which was highlighted in this application process, and we were able to key in on that with DWR during our pre-application meeting, and furthermore include that in the resubmittal. And then second, recent and accelerated coordination helped achieve key accomplishments during the short resubmittal timeframe, namely the Integrated Regional Water Management Plan recognition for Desal Plant 2 and the expectation that 2 more will receive it, and adding to the quantity, impact, and basis to California mainland water use via Catalina visitors. We were able to identify a matter in which to quantify that, strengthen it, calculate it, and support it, and include it. And I think there is a rumor that Jordan was on a vacation, but I think my inbox says otherwise. So,
Yeah.
you have a dedicated resource there. Third, Catalina Island Conservancy, Tony Budorovich, Frank Alia, Cynthia Fogg, Jessica Bell, for providing time and resources to add content to the ecosystem benefits associated with the projects. We demonstrated what areas we could help with the application, and they are quick in responding and providing information that we leveraged in the resubmittal. And the community and island stakeholders for comments, interest, and concern, and most importantly, I think a demonstrated conservation. One of the areas for DWR is making sure just because if desal capacity is there doesn't mean you could waste water or you could be less frugal with it. And so we were able to show and demonstrate activity by the community and ongoing commitment by branding and by information on the city's website, Edison's website, and that's constantly shared at council meetings. So we feel that there's an even stronger impression on DWR, specifically those reviewing these applications. We'll continue to keep you informed on progress, and unless no one has questions, that's it for me today.
Luke, I just want to thank you for your dedication. When he says he resubmitted the first round on the morning of March 30th, believe me, it was 12:02 a.m. that he submitted them. So.
Thank you. Thank you, Luke.
Good job.
So Dan, did you have a report you wanted to give on your behalf? Anything to say? Uh-huh. Okay, well then, we'll just kind of repeat ourselves, but stand up, Dan. Anyway, the County of Los Angeles provided this lovely certificate, Community Service Department, City of Avalon Spring Fest 2018. With sincere congratulations and best wishes, the Board of Supervisors of the County of Los Angeles does hereby join in your celebration March 29th, Janice on Supervisor 4th District.
That was her lead up.
So thank you for
I had forgot that you wrote the outriggers.
Oh, and there is another, DMV will be coming April 23rd, 24th, and 25th?
23rd, 24th, 25th.
25th, so the signups are in the lobby of City Hall. Okay, oral communications. This is an opportunity for members of the public.
Mayor,
Uh-oh.
we have one additional proclamation.
I am so sorry. Sorry.
That's okay. I would like to read a proclamation of the City of Avalon proclaiming April 2018 as DMV Donate Life California Month. Whereas organ, tissue, marrow, and blood donation are life-giving acts recognized worldwide as expressions of compassion to those in need. Whereas more than 114,000 individuals nationwide and more than 21,000 in California are currently on the National Organ Transplant waiting list, and on average, 20 people die each day while waiting due to the shortage of donated organs. Whereas the need for donated organs is especially urgent in Hispanic and African American communities. Whereas more than 600,000 units of blood per year are needed to meet the need in California. Whereas at any given time, 6,000 patients are in need of volunteer marrow donors. Whereas a single individual's donation of the heart, lungs, liver, kidneys, pancreas, and small intestine can save up to 8 lives. Donation of tissue can save and heal the lives of up to 75 others. And a single blood donation can help 3 people in need. Whereas millions of lives each year are saved and healed by donors of organs, tissues, marrow, and blood. Whereas the spirit of giving and decision to donate are not restricted by age or medical condition. Whereas over 14 million Californians have signed up with the state-authorized Donate Life California Donor Registry to ensure their wishes to be organ, eye, and tissue donors are honored. And whereas California residents can sign up with the Donate Life California Donor Registry when applying for or renewing their driver's licenses or ID cards at the California Department of Motor Vehicles. Therefore, be it resolved that in recognition of National Donate Life Month, the month of April 2018 is hereby proclaimed DMV Donate Life California Month in the City of Avalon, and in doing so, we encourage all Californians to check yes when applying for or renewing their driver's license or ID card, or by signing up at www.donatelifecalifornia.org or www.donevida.california.org. Dated the 3rd day of April, 2018.
Thank you.
And you can do that April 23rd through the 25th while the DMV is here in Avalon as well.
Exactly. Okay, oral communication, an opportunity from people of the community to speak on items that are not on the agenda. You will be limited to 3 minutes and no action will be taken.
Meeting Mayor, Council, Pam Albers, 217 Calle del Sol. I just wanted to report on a meeting that I had with Ron Haidt and Ryan Stevenson, the Edison attorney, and Cooper Cameron regarding some issues that the meeting was facilitated by Councilman Cindy McGugan Cassidy, and the purpose is to work with Edison on ongoing issues impacting the community regarding water. And now that Luke has finished the awesome task of submitting the project applications, we'll give him maybe a week or two. But the people in the meeting felt that it was important to keep focused on what's going to be happening in the next 2 years and letting people understand the process as we go forward. Edison has, actually Luke, has estimated that we will hit stage 2 without any significant, we have no significant rain in spring of 2020. But that's based on a number of assumptions, including that usage stays at a certain level, that there aren't maintenance issues that come up, that there aren't red tides, and all sorts of assumptions. And so I think it would be beneficial for people in town as well as the council to have a list of those assumptions so that as we go forward, we can keep checking back and seeing, are those assumptions playing out, or do we have to reconfigure our expectations of what the next 2 years are going to look like. So I look forward to working in that capacity some more.
Excellent, thank you.
Judy Greer, 355 Descanso Avenue. First of all, I want to say thank you to the Lions Club for the wonderful playground that they have completed out at Hay Press. I know people said, why don't you just renovate what's there? Why don't you make something small? Why don't you make something cheaper? And they didn't. And I'm glad. It's beautiful, it's big, it's wonderful, it will last a long, long time. A lot of islanders will love it. And I really like the idea that they thought beyond themselves and thought to the future and to even to people who don't have children who in the future might be able to use that. I want to say again, I appreciate that very much. The other thing, I am the president of the Friends of the Library, and we are so excited that the building of the library is actually going to have some work done to it. This has been in the minutes for maybe the last 50 years when I researched that. The exterior now, the plaza area, we're hoping to do more as far as trash and things like that and seeing if something else can be done. I want to remind people that there's a wonderful book club on the 4th Tuesday. Even if you haven't read the book, stop in and join the discussion. It's very good, and Morgan Pershing is fabulous. The other thing is to remind people of the Wi-Fi. We do have Wi-Fi there 24 hours a day. You have to go to the library and get the password, and you can sit outside and use the Wi-Fi. please put your trash in the trash receptacles after your Wi-Fi. And finally, the big thing is there will be a book sale this Saturday from 10 to 2. And this is throughout the state of California. All the Friends of the Libraries try to have 2 book sales, and this will be ours. If you want to come early and help us set out books, we'd love you to do that. Otherwise, come from 10 to 2 at the library to pick up some really reasonable books. Thanks.
City Council, I'm Randy Harrell, 311 Triana Lane, and also the CEO of the Island Company. I sent a letter out to all of our employees last night and today and their families, and I'd like to read it to you. I was insulted when I read a political flyer that came in the mail recently. The sheer hate it directs at the Catalina Island Company and its owners represent a new low in political discourse. As an Island Company employee and personal friend of Jeff and Allison Wrigley-Rusak, I am compelled to set the record straight. The Rusaks care deeply for this island and its people, and they prove it over and over through their tireless work with the contributions to Choices, the Hospital Foundation, Catalina Island Museum, Catalina Chimes Tower, Catalina Island Conservancy, to name a few. With the city's housing plans at a standstill, the Island Company has decided to move forward with its own plans to develop housing that will not only benefit our employees and their families, which account for nearly 1/4 of the island's population, but also the entire community. As always, we are ready to assist the city when needed. We need more water for housing. We need more water for a new hospital, a swimming pool, a community center, and other projects that will raise the quality of life for everyone. We will continue our commitment to protect all of Catalina Island's natural resources as we work with Edison and the city to build a secure and sustainable water system that includes desalination and new wells. Neither the Island Company nor the Rusaks have had any involvement with the well at Howland's Landing, which has been under Edison's control since 1964. In 1944, the State Lands Commission and several California agencies and the City of Avalon ruled that the casino land belongs to the Island Company. And as recently as 4 months ago, the City Council reconfirmed that they do not dispute that ruling. We have maintained the land around the casino at our own expense for decades, and most of it has been made available to the public for use for free. The Island Company leases a small portion of the casino land to the city for $1 less per square foot than the city charges us to lease city land. Over the last 10 years, the Island Company has donated nearly $4.5 million in cash and contributions to community events, clubs, associations, foundations, scholarships, and more. In addition, over $9 million in land has been donated for the new fire station, City Hall, Joe Machado Field, recently the dental clinic, and other projects to enrich the lives of every resident on the island. It saddens me, after all the Catalina Island Company has done for this island for the last 124 years, there are still members of this community who hold the Island Company in a negative light. Nevertheless, we will continue to treat our neighbors with dignity and respect, and we push for the positive change on Catalina. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. I'm Raffaella Perico. I'm here tonight to represent Choices, which is a no-profit organization who works in Catalina Island since 2002, helping the community with education and intervention programs to prevent or stop the abuse of alcohol and drugs. Choices needs a financial support to lead these programs and receive donations from other local organizations and local companies. As treasurer of Choices, I want to let all the community know that we receive an annual donation from Jeff Rusak and Alison Wrigley. And we always been supported by the Catalina Island Company. We, member of Choices, are very thankful for all their vital support in making a health community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, Council, Tony Bedrovich from Building 956 at Hamilton Cove, also the CEO of the Catalina Island Conservancy. So a couple things I wanted to talk about tonight. One, I got 4 phone calls within 4 seconds because of a comment made by Councilman Sampson. And I just wanted to make it perfectly clear the Trailhead building is going to be one of the finest constructed projects of the island, LEED certified, meeting the highest earthquake standards, Title 24. You couldn't ask for more. I also, 2 of the people that called were local contractors, people that live and work on this island, pour concrete on this island, and they were bothered that, there was a little picking on the locals that, they did something wrong or whatever. There was I would call it a catastrophic structural failure to the building. A single component failed. That is not unusual during a construction process, and we were on it, and I was on it within 10 minutes of the moment. No person got hurt. We've been building for 2 years. No person has left our site injured, ever. I think we have a great safety record, so I just wanted to go on record to say that, I believe the city and the people that work for it that are the inspectors of the project are doing a fine job, and they're not easy on us. They pick every detail, whatever. There was a timing issue of when one construction item did not happen, and that is something that, Joe, you are correct, that it did not happen. There's an epoxy that normally goes under a beam. It was not there yet. That is probably why we had movement, and that will be fixed. This was sort of the equivalent to on prom night, most important day of your life, you're going to get a picture and you end up with a pimple. So during construction, we got a pimple. Is that pimple going to go away? Yes, it is. And is the Trailhead going to be a great building and it's going to open this summer? Yes, it is. So I just want you to know, Joe, you've reached out to me many times. My phone is open to you. I appreciate an honest and open conversation, but safety is a high priority, and the Trailhead is going to be, leading the way to a great Catalina Island and Avalon. So the other thing I wanted to say is, I heard what Randy just said, and I have 2 people that are associated with the Conservancy that are part of the Island Company, and I have others that are board members that have been or whatever. And if I talk about Jeff and Alison Rusak, Alison is a benefactor member of the Conservancy, and I won't go into a long explanation of what that means, but her job is to make sure the Conservancy stays in the right direction and follows this sort of open space, accessible to all, keeping the vision. And she is, someone who I have to listen to at a board level and comes out and reviews that. Jeff Rusak is an actual board member. And whereas I noticed, Roy and others have been board members, but these are people that are giving their time free of charge to make the island better and working hard on worrying about that 42,000 acres of Conservancy land and making sure that I get it right and our group gets it right and that we're collaborative. And I think that we work really well as a community. I think the Conservancy works closely with the city, with the Island Company, with Edison. But what I wanted to say is I've never, in my 3 years, this month is my 3rd year, so as a new guy I feel like I've been here a while, but I've always seen the Rusak family worried about the benefit of Catalina, what they can do for the community, how they're perceived by the community. When I have an issue, and I've told you guys as a bunch that we have a difficult airport that loses hundreds of thousands of dollars, but it's needed, or Amazon and Federal Express and UPS don't come to this island, and the Conservancy keeps funding that bill because we're trying to be good to the city. The first person I call when I need help trying to figure out a strategy or an approach is Jeff Rusak, because he's there for the island. He's there to help. So I just wanted to point out, I didn't see the circular. My P.O. box did not get one, so I don't know what it said. But in the same extent, I have to say that, the family seems really committed to this community, and I know that when they talk to the Conservancy about issues we can do, it's always about our education department and how we can get people trained and educated in service industry roles that help the community kind of grow on Avalon and not force them away and things like that. So I just wanted to lend an opinion that I think they're a strong community advocate and very positive influence on the neighborhood.
Thank you, Tony.
Okay.
Yeah. Others? Okay. We will go to the consent calendar.
This evening, we have 4 consent calendar items, one of which will be the City of Avalon acting as a successor agency, and the other one is as the Housing Authority. The first one is actions from March 20th, 2018. The second one is to adopt a resolution declaring equipment listed on the resolution as surplus property and authorizing the interim city manager to dispose of it in accordance with the city policy once we get final approval from MTA. Number 3 is the investment policy. We're asking you to adopt the resolution adopting the Treasurer's Statement of Investment Policy as revised February 2nd of 2016. Number 4 is to authorize the city manager or their designee to procure the improvements related to the sanitary sewer service lateral at 206 East Whitley per the purchasing policy, including the bidding and awarding of the construction contracts, and to authorize expenditures for the aforementioned improvements not to exceed $30,000, and to amend the fiscal year budget by increasing the Housing Authority maintenance of the premise expenditure account by $30,000.
I'll pull number 2, please.
I'll make a motion to approve items 1, 3, and 4.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments? Call for the vote.
Aye.
Okay.
All ayes. Thank you, Cindy. Sorry. A little malfunction.
So I wanted to ask about number 2. So how much revenue is projected are we projected to get back from them? Do we have any idea how much we might get from these buses if we get rid of them? Is it?
We do not yet, Joe, because we haven't put them out yet as surplus, so there's no bids yet on them.
We might even have to pay for them, huh? To be junked.
Well, they've already been paid to ship over, so they get to go back for free of charge. And then Transit Concept has graciously going to allow us to put them in one of their lots that they have. I want to believe it's in El Segundo.
Are they going to charge us for that, do you know?
No, they are not. And we're going to store them there, and once we get the final approval from MTA, which we're waiting for a letter in writing, correct, any day, we can list them as surplus, and Transit Concept was going to help us sell them.
Okay.
We've also talked with MTA because they have a electric bus program about their purchasing them from us. So we're waiting for that as well.
Okay. So, all right. Well, that kind of squelches the next question I was going to ask, which is what are we going to do with the money that we get from that? And I just wanted to suggest that we put it into new buses or some kind of high efficiency, low exhaust system buses, like maybe those nice buses that they have out at the dump with their half gas or propane, I think is what they are.
We're trying to get different quotes to bring forward to you with some different options, as well as to figure out how we would fuel these alternative fuel vehicles.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, please. That's where I'm headed with that, because we really owe the community to get our bus program and our public transit back online as soon as we can. So whenever we get around to it, I guess that's when we'll jump off that bridge. But thank you.
Okay. And we will continue to have the 2 that we're leasing right now from Transit Concepts. That red and white one took a hit the other day. Oh, no. Not an actual hit, but it went down. It's permanently out of business. But
okay, so I make a motion to approve item number 2, please.
Sorry. I got one more question.
Oh, yeah.
With that.
Could the public?
Go ahead, Pam.
Yeah.
Oh, please, yeah.
Hey, thank you. I'm Pam Albers, 217 Calle del Sol. Apparently, everybody else knows what happened with these buses, but I don't know that the public does, and you certainly couldn't get that from reading the staff report. And I was just going to suggest from a going forward standpoint that Number one, are the electric chargers, are they being sold because they can't be used with any other vehicles, or has a decision been made that we're not going to try electric? What funding source are we using for the lease payments that we're making for the buses? And is that is it reserves, or where's that money coming from?
First, let me answer the first one about the charging stations. Everything is going to be dismantled and sent as a package deal, because those are for those charging buses. The professional opinions we've been receiving on the electric buses, it's a great idea, but they're not up to, they haven't been vetted enough, I guess, is what I want to say, Pam. So we are hesitant to go another electric bus route at this point. So that's why we're looking at alternative vehicles for them. As far as where the lease payments are coming from, I'm not sure if that can come from our MTA money or if it's coming from our general fund. I'm sorry, I don't have that answer for you, but I can certainly get it. This has been something that we've been reporting on consistently. We've had issues with the e-buses for quite some time. As you see, they've been sitting back there in that lot. We've been extremely frustrated. We can't seem to get anywhere with the company that we purchased them from, and I can't state too much because of pending the term a claim or
anticipated litigation.
Yes,
Initiation of litigation. I've reported out that the council has authorized us to take.
I've usually gone to bed by then. So.
Okay. Yeah, no, we've reported out that council
You're
has authorized
anticipating
us
litigation
to
regarding that.
pursue all legal remedies against the company that supplied those buses.
and with much frustration, Pam, we're trying to move forward
and I get
so
that.
we can have.
I think I've heard rumors, but I didn't really know for sure what the issue was. And I do think that just from my own business lessons that I learned, not to play the blame game, but sometimes it really pays to go back and say, how did we end up where we were, and how do we make sure that doesn't happen again?
Right.
And I know that there was a committee that went out and looked at these vehicles, and maybe the answer is that each committee member is encouraged to submit maybe anonymous comments, but it seems like some people had reservations and their voices were not heard. They were overridden in speaking their objections, and maybe that's the area that needs to be looked at to see if it could be improved. Thank you.
Okay, there's been a motion. Is there a second?
Wait, Councilman Hernandez.
I was actually going to ask about the charging station, but she answered my question.
Oh, okay, great.
So there's a bit.
I'll second.
Okay, Lily second. Call for the vote.
All ayes.
And item number 5.
I'm going to ask Mr. Greenlaw to come up and talk about his concept of on-call contracts.
Okay, since this agenda item was late getting the staff report in, I'm going to read a bunch of it here so that everybody is aware that doesn't have it in front of them. So this is an on-call contracts concept, and at my previous employment we did a bunch of this, and what it does is it streamlines our procurement process to get professional services, but also for maintenance-related construction contracts, not for new work, but for maintenance-related items. So in the industry, they're called an IDIQ contract, so an indefinite duration, indefinite quantity, or a job order contracting. And the federal government uses this a lot, but a lot of municipal agencies are jumping on board because it is a way that makes an agency more nimble and able to react to whatever's needed, that we get direction from council. So what I'll be asking for tonight is the approval of the issuance of multiple RFPs. So this is not really an action to make a decision on it, but to allow us to go out to these RFPs for an array of different services, and then bring back what the result of those RFPs after we rank them, and then make some recommendations to move forward with those and identify the fiscal resources that would fund those budget for those task orders. So to give you a summary how these things will work, so currently the method the city utilizes to procure professional services and construction contracts for maintenance-related activities is time-consuming, and is a barrier to achieving desired results in a timely manner. For complex tasks, this process seeks a two-step process of soliciting a request for qualifications, an RFQ, followed by a request for proposals, an RFP, from a qualified list generated from the RFQ process. So you'll go through that first step on a complex project and look for just qualified firms to come in, and then you'll ask for proposals for them. That is different than the one-step process. There's a one-step method for projects that have a wider pool of specialists that exist for well-defined tasks, simpler stuff, and that seek requests for proposals on a competitive basis from parameters that are defined in those RFPs. And essentially that RFP process is the same for the two-step or the one-step process, but you have that qualifications phase. So under this existing process, for each project or task, the city usually issues an RFP to facilitate that task. So if we have 10 projects and they have a specific project with it, we'd actually go out and do 10 RFPs. In the difference with if I've got an on-call contract, I could get one master contract for an array of those projects and then issue task orders. So the on-call contract approach solicits for the professional service or construction contracts related to maintenance activities with a master contract that has a duration of 3 years plus 2 possible 1-year extensions. That's pretty common across the United States that they go for a 5-year. We start with 3 years. There's no guarantee for work on this. You get them signed up, but it is a way that agencies say you'll get more work if you do participate in the RFP process, because those will usually be the first people that we go to get these services, because it's much quicker, unless it becomes one of those large specialized projects that we'd actually go out and solicit a separate RFP for. So this is for the everyday bread and butter type projects. Once the fully executed master contract is in place with insurance and any required bonds, the specific projects or tasks are implemented through issued task orders. So after we have the master contract in place with multiple firms, and then we look for the capacity and who's the best fit for that project, we ask them for another, we give them a scope of that project and then ask for a proposal to issue a task order. And then they give us sort of a specific response back with a not to exceed amount. But it takes care of that process of going through, getting an RFP, coming to council, getting an approval on that, now go find, and then routing the contract through all our different departments and getting that fully executed, because we have that fully executed master contract in place. The authority to issue the task order can be delegated to the city manager, chief administrator officer, or department head up to the limit of the authorized budget relative to that task. So if we ask for a budget of general engineering, say that we talk about a transportation plan and we want to do a transportation plan, we could issue a task order if we had one of these contracts, and we could get a scope for that, and it'd say that for general engineering tasks, if we asked for it and that you did appropriate $100,000 for the year, we could slice off $40,000 for that transportation plan, and we could do that at one meeting and then have that underway. And that consultant could be on board within 2 weeks and in front of you. Okay, it's that quick, instead of going through the whole process and we may be 4 months down the road. So an example of how this will work is the current on-call contract for city engineering services with ESG Engineering. So we're already doing this with one firm that helps me substantially in the work that I do and a lot of the tasks that you asked me to do. It is in its 3rd year and has proved to be a highly successful method in providing general and specific engineering services for the city through task orders that are approved by the Director of Public Works. The expansion of this concept is to provide an array of consultants that are ready to serve the city's needs on quick notice, much like the contract with ESG Engineering. In addition to professional services, construction contracts for maintenance-related services could provide for a quick response to service needs the city lacks the personnel resources to complete on a timely basis, or there's a technical skill set that is lacking to get those things done. The master contracts would be used across all departments in the city with a project manager assigned to oversee the specific master contract. So if we had an engineering needs that, and Public Works was the project manager of that contract, Community Services could use that contract also. They could issue a task order and they could oversee that task order. But the master contract, if it was at the Public Works, I would be the project manager, oversee all of those, make sure the contract was being efficiently run. So let's see, the RFPs will consider procurement requirements from external funding sources to allow for flexibility and implementation. And so that being said, that there are special requirements when you get grants from state or federal funding, and all of those things need to be included in our master agreements so that we're really flexible as we get a Safe Routes to School grant or we get a Metro grant and that has federal funding, that we can use this type of contracting and it's compliant. So this is really for organizational and cost efficiency. It's going to, in turn, make the city more efficient, and both with its resources and its cost efficiency. And I could say one other thing about the job order contrasting. And when I was employed by San Luis Obispo, we actually had a very large job order contracting that allowed us to do maintenance type activities. And whenever, you know, we needed to get something done, road repair that was beyond something that we could do with our own forces, within 72 hours, it was written in our contract, within 72 hours notice that contractor had to be on site. So typically, like for this storm damage we had there, we could have some of our resources here that are contractors on the island, or some of our building facilities where we could call them up and say, you need to respond within 72 hours. That's part of the pricing that goes into it. So I'm open for questions on this.
Well, when you say all departments, somebody for administration, somebody for finance, or is it more recreation and public works?
So we would get engineering. So some of these professional services could be for engineering, but then you break that down. It could be, not that we acquire much right away here, but that is very popular in other agencies. But for surveying, you can, for general engineering services, any of those things that you can imagine that you would get a professional service contract for transportation plans, for a recreation plan, all of those things could have an array of consultants that fit all of those needs. And that's why I'm saying it could be spread across different departments, that one consultant can do 10 different things.
Right.
And so multiple departments can use these contracts. It's not just Public Works getting their engineering on-call contract. It's setting up a toolbox for all the departments in the city to be able to use for both professional services and for maintenance-related activities.
Do you have to have a special understanding of exactly how all the nuances of bringing all these different agencies together works? I know you might.
I'm here to help facilitate that.
Are you going to be here for a while, or are you going to sit in place and then take off on it?
Did I say I was leaving? No.
No, I don't want you to leave.
No, I mean,
please stay.
I'm putting this in because this is one of the most powerful tools I can tell you that you could have as an agency, right there.
Right.
And when I started it at 2 agencies back, it was great. I thought it was great. And then when I got on the last agency before this, they already had it in play, and they put out like 10 RFPs, every 3 years to re-up these and get fresh consultants. And it's just like a machine. They do it. And then that makes your job as a staff member much easier because you have this toolbox. So if council says, I need this done, I need a transportation plan, I go, sure, call up XYZ, get a task order and say, let's go. Just hand me money and I'll make sure I get it done for you,
That sounds good. How much money are we talking about? But
right now we're not
just the money. I mean,
we're not making any commitment for money. What this is a form of contracting.
Right.
So instead of putting it to the RFP like we are through our consultants like ESG or Michael Baker, you're just doing a different form of contracting. You're able to react to whatever the needs are quicker.
And you could facilitate these programs throughout the different departments, or at least help the department heads understand how the nuances of this work?
Yes, they're already doing some of this. Great. It's just a different way of doing it. Okay, and this is not something that's unique to a few agencies. They're, from the federal government, state government, to municipalities in California, they're doing it right now.
Great.
That was the biggest question I had, and then if I understand it correctly, these contracts are what you're putting in place. What will come back to us would not be, we're going to spend this much money in all these projects. It's about, we're getting everybody online, getting all the insurance in order, getting all the paperwork done, and then as things come up throughout the year, we go to them, they're ready to go, we go to this person for this person for this, and they quote out how much it would be. You bring that to the council for approval to spend those funds, whether it's budgeted or if we were to do a budget extension.
The only exception to that is if it wasn't, but what I'm asking, if it is budgeted already, you could even delegate that authority to a staff member, on different levels of authority. I know the city engineer at San Luis Obispo had authority, I think, up to $100,000 for task orders. To be able to move very quickly. But you could say a department head could have $10,000 without coming to council again to be able to implement whatever was needed. But it would have to be something that was in the budget. I'm going to transportation plan or whatever. If there was something new we're talking about, we would ask within that agenda item, hey, we're going to be able to do this. This is where the funds would come from, and then we're going to do it through a task order with one of our consultants. Okay? But otherwise, I think I described it well because you said it back very well. Yes.
Another thing that I think all of us hear every now and then is, oh my gosh, it takes so long to get something done. And it's hard for me to explain, well, there's a paperwork process that we have to go through. And are you saying the same thing, that a lot of the stuff that just takes us forever and months to get done is because we have to wait 6 weeks for it has to go in the paper, we have to wait 6 weeks for something to come back or whatever my numbers may be wrong, but there's a period of time you have to wait for people to respond for every project that we do over $5,000 or something, isn't it?
Well, this would not apply to public works projects because the code says you have to bid this. So this is for professional services and maintenance contracts, which aren't considered public works projects. You'll have to pay prevailing wages, but this is for non-public works projects.
So that's that new public works. Remember I said new public works versus maintenance related. Right. And we can use the job order contracting for the maintenance related ones, because they come in line items. And what you do is an indefinite duration, indefinite quantity, and you get them to bid on certain items with a minimum level. No guarantee of them getting that, but that's the competitive nature, and then you award the contract on a competitive bid that way, and then they're locked in on that.
When we build things, we still have to go through the longer process.
Okay.
Okay, this is for maintenance and professional services, engineers, architects, land surveyors, etc.
Structural engineers.
Structural engineers. Design engineers.
Are there any questions or comments from the community on this?
Okay, so all I'm asking is that you approve the issuance of the multiple RFPs, and we'll come back to you.
Even on that, how long is this going to take?
Well, I could say that effort of work is considerable because we'll probably put out about 10 RFPs. Right. And then each RFP then results into a stack that we put a team that is reviewing those and then ranking and making a selection. But you know when you have those that we have a 3-year contract plus the ability to get 2 more years out of that. So that effort is worth that. And usually that comes out of about 3 templates. So once we get the 3 templates done, which I already have from past employment, put those out on the street and then get the response.
Right.
Okay?
Good.
Okay?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Yep, I'll second. Excuse me, sorry.
Call for the vote.
All ayes.
Okay, item 6 is the update on the food trucks at the Casino Dog Fuel. And this staff was tasked with bringing this item back to you, and we need to update you. Dan was tasked with contacting LA County and the Health Department, and Amanda had reached out to the Coastal Commission, so I'm going to let both of them come and give you an update.
I think Amanda got the easier of the tasks. I have been back and forth with 3 or 4 of the divisions with the health department, and probably over the last 2 weeks, 15 phone calls at least to various entities in those divisions. So a little bit of an update. The task was to see if we could put a food truck or a food trailer on site at the fuel dock. And I think it came up in our discussion at last meeting that a commissary, a storage facility, a commissary is something that needs to go hand in hand with having any type of a food truck or a food trailer. Commissary, and it's in your staff notes, is basically a servicing facility for these food trucks and food trailers that it needs to go to every night to be serviced. Food's prepped, it's cleaned, those types of things. Not having a commissary on site makes it difficult, if not impossible, to do that. Went to another level at the same division, asked if we could tie in with the utilities, these food facilities, and they were very specific that the trailer truck needs to move every single night and cannot be tied in and stay on a regular basis. So the answer there was no. We need to have a commissary. A restaurant can be seen as a commissary for some food prepping, but I'm not sure that we've got the servicing for offloading wastewater and some of the things that will come off of grease and wastewater on a mobile basis that a commissary would be able to complement that. Took it a step further. One of the suggestions was to possibly have, just put easy ups up there, canopies, and have a real temporary food facility, a TFF. They do that for festivals. They do that for events. It can be done in a 90-day period, but only 24 times over the course of a 90-day period. It needs to be for a specific event. So. Like the 4th of July last year, we had it up for a day. Like possibly Memorial Weekend, we could set something up, or a vendor could set something up. So not the information I think that we were looking for. Took it a step further, looked at temporary buildings that are placed on site, and that's certainly an opportunity there. A prefab building that has all the kitchen amenities in it. The process there is similar to a building permit process where it could be, 2 months at the quickest if everything went through real quick to, 4 to 6 months if there were revisions and had to go back and forth with plan check on that. So in trying to get something in this summer, I don't think that was a way to approach that. So I don't have the news I think everybody was looking for. I was hoping to tackle it some way or other. Like I said, went to 4 different divisions to see if I could answer that might work for our needs. Asked about having prepackaged food out there. You can do chips, you can do candy, you can do that kind of stuff, but anything that's prepped at another kitchen and brought out needs to be in one of these, mobile food operating facilities. It needs to be a temporary food facility or one of these temporary buildings. So that was not an angle that
Did I hear you
would work as well.
correctly, Dan, when you said that you could operate 24 days in a 90-day period as like a pop-up restaurant?
You could operate 24 consecutive days, not to exceed 24 total days on consecutive days. So you could do that, but they like it to be an event of some sort. So if it was a fair that you had going on for a 2-week period of time, 3-week period of time, yes.
Could we have a 90-day Avalon Harbor Summer Fair and pop-up music and food every Saturday and Sunday out there?
I asked about that.
Because that would be 3 months. That
yeah,
would.
And I did ask about that. It was a conversation this afternoon. It was a kind of a little slippery slope there because it wasn't an event. I said, what about a concert series that we did, every Friday and Saturday, just like you said, for the course of the summer? And I don't think they would buy off on that.
Oh. Well, that's a real letdown. Can we go back to Long?
So if there was interest in the community for the food truck, because by people that already have restaurants, what their biggest issue would be where to park that truck at night?
The food truck would have to have a restaurant on the island associated with it, so it'd have to be a vendor that you've already had, unless you had somebody from over town, and the truck would have to go over town. So that doesn't work, but it would have to be somebody that's already associated with the restaurant that could do that.
But our 3 potential lessees for that property out there, they all have restaurants? They could potentially look at attaching a food truck to it.
They could, if we could figure out how to service it on a daily basis. It would have to go to a site that we all agreed upon. Yes.
What do you mean by that? To service?
Clean it, dump it.
To clean it.
Dump it, clean it, and I haven't seen what that looks like, but I'm assuming you go over town and I don't see those things parked on the streets anywhere unless they're open, so they are going, somewhere on a regular basis.
You may want to follow up with the Island Company because they had a food truck out at Descanso for a while, and I don't know where and how that happened with that truck that was on their property.
It was fairly recent?
A couple years,
Years ago.
2-3 years
Yeah.
ago maybe? Yes. And it went somewhere to do what you're talking about.
Okay.
So it might be a
I will follow up on that. In the meantime, we'd like to put some benches out there, put some trash receptacles out there, just to get some general public use of that space that's not fenced off. I think we'd have divers that would probably sit and have lunch. It's a great area to kind of hang out until we decide to do something a little more permanent with it.
Could we put a list of restaurants out there so if they wanted to call for takeout, and if somebody then wanted to deliver, maybe there could be a delivery service for food out there as well, so that divers don't have to walk in with their flippers? I don't know. Somehow to make it as convenient.
I think with
as
some nice
possible.
signage, there are some restaurants that do some deliveries, so we could assist in that.
Yeah, and then in terms of what we're selling out of the gas stock, we have, I know there's some, I don't know what's out there, some candy bars and some water. Maybe then we could, with some advertising, beef that up some way so we could make that a little more of an income generator, perhaps.
I ran out of time, but vending machines, some sandwich vending machines. I ran out of time, but vending machines, I don't think that's the look that we want, but.
No. But they have a refrigerator and all. Have you been into the gas stock
Yes,
to see
yeah,
what's there?
yeah.
So we could maybe stack that up a little better, stock it a little better, perhaps.
Most of the time, people don't go up there. That would be more for servicing divers and whatnot.
Right.
But most of the time, you're on your vessel while you're fueling.
Well, exactly. Yeah, so I'm talking about for the people that walk by, if we kind of said we had a little snack shack, maybe people would, pick up some stuff there as well. I think I guess my only concern, is the mess with tables, as we see everywhere else, people don't clean up after themselves, so I guess that's where we'd have to talk to Fuel Dock and figure out how that can be done, because we're adding additional responsibilities to our contractor.
We would treat it as a community service, would treat it as a park-like setting, and we'd have somebody up there, first thing in the morning to go through it, and then, once during the day to,
staff. Okay,
to
perfect.
check it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Well, I don't think we should give up on the food trucks. I think in the interim, you do what you're talking about, but so we just need to do a little bit of more follow-up on that. Where would people go if they had a food truck and what they would do with that?
The surfacing of it, yes.
Yeah.
Did we talk to ABC about the possibility of licensing it?
We haven't gotten that far. You've got to have food out there before you can be doing beer and wine, so we know we need to get food out there first. But
I mean, do you all think this is still worth pursuing? I mean, I do.
Well, I think the reason we stopped the discussion regarding leasing that facility out there is whether or not we could pay for the land and what we could do. So that's the reason this stopped. If those conversations are going to move forward, then I would say let's not utilize more staff time if we can figure out another solution for land and making sure that we can cover the costs of the building and what the lease is going to be with a new lessee. But I would tend to think that those conversations are going to happen.
Within the week, this last week, I've had a very positive conversation with the Island Company, and I am, after the election, putting a letter together with a proposal to the Island Company for that lease land. I also had a very, very brief conversation with our new finance director I would like to bring something back to the council also on, this obviously wouldn't be for this summer, but it would be for our next budget, because ideally, just in my opinion, is for us to build that building on our own. And I would like to consult with Bob Torres on some options of creative financing and how we could do that, because I just think that if we could build the building ourselves and then we could have our tenants in it, but that's just me. And
good thoughts.
Okay.
Good thoughts. Okay, so for now, you're going to put up tables and chairs and some pop-ups?
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Did we contact any of the other vendors that were interested and get any update or input from them at all?
As far as
I mean,
the
just,
restaurant
yeah,
people,
yeah.
or
The people that were interested in having the business out there.
not at this point, Richard? I thought it would
Wanted to make
be.
sure
It was
we
a
get
little
all the
earlier,
ducks in a
yes,
row
and I didn't
first.
want to get any hopes up.
Yeah.
And would you want Amanda to report on the
Okay.
Coastal
Mhm.
Commission thing?
Yes, please.
Dan was right. My part of this was really easy. I reached out to Mr. Posner, our friend Chuck over at the Coastal Commission, and he indicated that he thought the food truck was a great idea and that it would not require an additional coastal development permit or an amendment to our existing permit. He felt like it would probably be exempt from requiring a permit, and he strongly suggested that we get an exemption request in, and so we did. We submitted an exemption request for up to 2 trucks if they will fit, and we haven't heard back from them, but they were busy trying to get their next agenda together. So that has gone in for Coastal Commission consideration.
Sweet, good. That's nice.
And I just want to add also that one of the questions, and Amanda, this is either for you or Bob Greenlaw, the other question that I sent in was the approvals that we have right now for that restaurant through the Coastal Commission will expire at some point. And that time frame was, I think, 2 or 3 years.
I don't know. I would have to look.
So what the information we received so far was you needed to start your project within 2 years, which we did.
Which we did.
built phase 1, and we're actively working on phase 2.
Okay.
And so right now it's a continuing project, and as long as we keep on making progress, just like we're talking about with the lease, and however we would build the building, and we're doing that, and we're
Making progress.
we're making
Okay.
progress. I think we're in good shape so
That's
far.
great.
Okay, great.
Okay, now I requested some information from Scott Campbell.
We have a closed session on that item.
Oh, we do?
Tonight,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
I'm just going to make a suggestion that I hope you don't give up on the food truck, because I think it is possible to get a waiver for the requirement to move the truck in order to pressure wash it. I mean, a restaurant is not pressure washed, so I don't know why, for safety purposes, cleaning couldn't be done on site. And as Councilman McGoon Cassidy pointed out, the two restaurant owners have indicated an interest, and so clearly they would have facilities to act as a commissary. But even as a backup program, there is a licensing for street vending, which could, be something as simple as hot dogs out there, but it would be another way of feeding people. It might be worth looking into.
Great.
Joe Dalbero, Tremont. I wanted to let you people know there is an alternative to the food trucks. We had talked about a food truck out there, myself and Martine. We have a project we'd like to put in called the bungee trampoline. I think you might have seen some of that stuff. I think Denise has the packet. Wouldn't have anything to do with food, although we had said we would put a food truck in with that facility. Doesn't look like a food truck is going to be very viable at that place. So we are proposing it's a ride for kids, and something for the younger kids that can't go jet skiing or even parasailing or any of that kind of stuff like that. It's you have a packet that you guys can take a look at. It's something different from what you've been discussing, and it would be a perfect use for that. We approached the city with the proposal, talked to Dan quite extensively. I've talked to some of the council members about it. And the proposal is for the bungee trampoline out there. We need 25 by 25. We would put up picnic tables and umbrellas and et cetera, and people would be happy. We'd be happy to provide that for people to use free of charge, of course. Okay? Something, an alternative for you guys. It would bring in some revenue. At this point in the game, you're getting nothing from that, and you have gotten nothing from it for a couple of years now. Mm-hmm. We would at least be some revenue until you decided what to do with it, or until you did build your own facility out there. Then you would have a restaurant, et cetera, et cetera. We would be ready, we could move it at that time. We could change it at that time. It could be even, it would be feasible to leave it where it is, depending upon what the facility you guys decide to build. At least it's an alternative for you to take a look at. We will bring the formal proposal to you if you are interested. If you're not, that's up to you. Of course, thank you. Give you a different choice than anything.
Yes, thank you, Joe. And I know you had a question, but I don't know if staff had the opportunity to follow up.
Just what Parsec thinks about it.
Well, the bungee.
Yeah. And you have what it looks like, so you can give it to Joanne or whatever.
I guess they do it in other beach cities, don't they?
I think they have one in Long Beach.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But if that was a concern of Councilman Mayor Pro Tem, I think we should probably follow up, and that would be being
absolutely.
I'll send it off tomorrow.
Okay, so what are we doing here, kids? We're going to turn it into a little park in the interim, correct? Is that okay? We're going to, maybe you can talk with the island company to see what they had to do in that situation. And then my only other, not concern, issue for whoever wanted to do a food truck is where do they park it? Because nobody has a restaurant they can park it by. So,
and where do they clean it? And where do they dump it?
Well, yeah, and that's the question that Dan will get from the island company, because they had that issue. Okay. So the food trucks aren't dead yet. And in the meantime, do you think we could do like the 4th of July thing and a couple of other, maybe, just pick a weekend and do some kind of fun stuff?
We'll have something sorted out before then.
No.
Yeah, I think we could do things like kick off the summer Memorial Weekend and do 3 days out there. We've got a contract with Ivan at this point who could roll in and just do it, or do we need to, vet some other people to try and do that? I think I would need some direction on that.
Well, if you look at what Springfest does, and if all those vendors, if you could grab a couple of those and rotate those folks in and out, perhaps, because I'm sure they would like the business, and I don't know what, but
Yeah, so going through this process, we need to start cleaning up Springfest a little bit. There's some things that we're neglect on, and some of the things I'll be bringing back to the council, and you'll start to see that the next festival.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm assuming we're going to want to have beer and wine out there, so I think we should touch base with ABC up front so we know what the requirements are.
Ivan has that permit already, right? He has a business of beer and wine, right?
Right, he
For the
does.
city to serve beer and wine?
Yeah.
No, for an outside vendor to do it.
Well, all the people that are interested in food trucks right now have beer and wine, and some even have liquor licenses.
Do they have catering licenses?
Well, I know they do. Yes, they do. There's 2 right now that have catering licenses. So, okay.
So keep it to potentially to the ones that have applied already for that space?
I think now we could reach out to see how strongly there is an interest.
Open it back up.
Yeah, because if nobody's interested, then we might as well.
Right. Okay. Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Closed session.
As indicated, we have, council member has requested, Councilmember Sampson, we have 2 items associated with the Casino Point property to consider the city options. And then item number 3 is anticipated litigation, significant exposure. This is to give you an update on our meeting we had with Island Enterprises on their float situation.
Okay. And I'm sorry to take this out of order. However, there were all these hospital people here, but nobody announced that the health fair is this Thursday, April 5th, from 10 to maybe 3. I really encourage all the business people to allow their staff time to go to the health fair to get some of those screenings, because some of those are very life-saving, and that saves money for an employer. If you can catch something quick enough, preventative medicine is the best medicine. So I encourage all the employers to allow their staff some time off to go to the health fair, and it is downtown on Crescent this year. Okay.
Annie, I neglected to remind everybody that next Tuesday is our election, and it's polling places here at City Hall from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. We have been receiving a large amount of vote by mails already, so.
So you can't count those early? You can only start them at 7, huh?
That's when we start them.
7:01, okay. Yeah, so it's going to be, because of Joe and me, it's going to take them a little longer to count the votes this time, so we apologize for the inconvenience.
And did I also read correctly in the rules that candidates are not allowed to be within 100 feet of the polling place other than to vote?
Yes.
So we need to make sure that we don't come in and pick up a packet or something. Pick up mail or a packet
No,
or
you could
anything.
come, you just can't electioneer.
Oh, okay,
You just
okay, so
cannot,
it's not that we're not allowed to be
No,
anywhere
it's not that
near
you're
the-
not allowed,
okay,
no, it's not
got
like a sports field. But you cannot electioneer within 100 feet
Got
of
it.
the polling
Right.
place.
Okay.
And just on items number 1 and 2 on closed session, Councilmember Cassidy and Councilmember Hernandez will be recusing themselves due to income from the island company.
Okay. agenda items.
2.5 hours.
So grateful.
I guess
Stop
that's not
it.
so good. Okay, and we are back from closed session. City Attorney?
Yeah, on item number 2, the non-conflicted members of the city council unanimously waived the attorney-client privilege with respect to memorandum regarding the ownership of the casino dock property.
All right. Good night, Tony. Meeting
Tony.
adjourned.
I don't understand what you just said.